Guys, thank you very much for joining the live stream or for watching the recording. Today is your favorite open Q&As about Czech immigration, so you can ask me any questions in the chat. Anything at all. It can be about immigration to the Czech Republic, meaning all the different visa types, residence permits, all that, permanent residency, citizenship, all these kind of things. Anything about finding accommodation in the Czech Republic, long-term rental generally, but we also do help with buying apartments, selling apartments, so that could potentially be questions as well. Anything about starting a business in the Czech Republic, getting a trade license or anything related to that, business address, all these kind of things. Insurance, public health insurance, private health insurance, all the different questions about this topic or anything else. Sometimes people ask me private questions as well, which is fine, but I think you could use the time better than that. So, and yeah, it says that it will be 20 minutes today, which exactly needs to be that because I need to be somewhere else at 6. So I cannot be here more than 20 minutes. So you still have 18 and a half to ask your questions, then I'll finish the live stream and I'll go. And guys, please ask some questions because the previous live stream I did, which was, or one of the previous ones, was about accommodation and health insurance. And it lasted like 7 minutes because no one was asking any questions, so it got very weird. So I better end it dead. So hopefully today is better. So please ask your questions in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. Meanwhile, I'll be dancing here weirdly for you. Ashim Upreti, sir, please help me to get visa appointment. Somewhere there's no help, unfortunately, because yeah, this is a pretty common request. We cannot get an appointment. Please get us help an appointment, but we cannot help you get an appointment where there are no appointments to get. If you're from India or if you have to apply for an appointment in India, if it's work related, employment related, there are 0 available appointments, so you cannot get any appointment at all. So unfortunately, in most cases, which you contact us about, we cannot help because there is simply no solution. In some cases, we could potentially help, for example, like for family reunification, residence permits or visas, we can get appointments for that, but we only do it for our clients as a part of the bigger service. We don't provide just getting an appointment as a separate service because that makes no sense. We would not have enough appointments for our own clients. So we can help you get an appointment, but only if you go through the whole process with us, not as a separate service that you do everything on your own and you just want us to get you an appointment. Shahriyar Manihar, hello sir, good day. What is situation of job market in the Czech Republic? Is there have any demand for foreign worker? Kind of depends. Like again, if your name sounds Indian-ish. If not, I'm sorry, but it does sound Indian to me. In that case, the first question should be if you can ever get an appointment if you find work here. And the most likely answer to that is no. No for most positions. You can only get an appointment if you apply for a blue card, which requires you to have at least bachelor's degree and your salary must be at least, let's say, 70,000 crowns a month. So if you can fulfill these 2 conditions and you can find a job in that field, then you can potentially apply for a blue card. But other than that, if you find a lower salary or you have lower education, you cannot get an appointment at all. So even if there was plenty of available jobs, makes no sense to get any because you will never get a visa or residence permit based on that job. So I would take it from this perspective. Of course, like for blue cards, there are plenty of jobs like in IT, software development, app development, tester, software engineer, all these kind of jobs. They are well paid and they would qualify for the blue card as well. So I would probably focus on these options. Jaya Prakash Gadam, hi Ankalina, I'm Jaya Prakash from India. Thank you for excellent support. My question is, Can we extend seasonal visa long-term 9 months? Thank you as well for joining the live stream and for asking the question. That makes it interesting, the live stream. Unfortunately, the seasonal work visa cannot be extended. If you got it for 9 months, you have to leave and you have to reapply. If you got it for 6 months, for example, you can potentially extend it for the remaining 3 months, but the maximum validity is 9 months. If you got it for 9 months, you cannot extend it anymore. You cannot even switch to anything else. The only option potentially you could switch to is a blue card. But again, your salary would need to be, say, 70,000 crowns, and you must have at least a bachelor's degree and work which would sponsor you for that. So that's not very likely if you came here as a seasonal worker that you now find a blue card job. Ashimu Preti, university can do anything for visa appointment or not, sir? Well, if you're applying for a student visa, then yes, then you have chances. Either the university could enroll you into the student mode, student regime, and then you get a guaranteed appointment, but the guaranteed appointment can be a couple months later, which means that you might be late for the school anyway. So it's technically a bit better, but in real life doesn't have to. But at least there are no quotas for students, so you can potentially get an appointment. University could potentially enroll you into the student regime and you could get an appointment this way as well. But again, it might be potentially even a couple months later. Ervan Dubogan, hi Jan. So if I'm in France with a short stay visa, can I apply in Czech embassy for long-term visa or residence permit? No, not really. Generally, I'm not sure if you're asking about your specific situation. I hope not. Generally speaking, if you come here under a short-term visa, or in Schengen or EU, I mean, you cannot apply for a long-term visa or long-term residence permit. You can only apply generally in the country of origin or in the country where you've been legally residing for more than 2 years. So not under a short-term visa, because that's usually not for 2 years, but under some long-term residence permit. So if you just come here under a short-term visa, Schengen visa, you cannot apply here. But if you were, for example, an American or a Canadian, Australian, who can come here without the visa for 90 days, then it usually also means that you can apply, say, in Germany at the Czech embassy there, and you can apply there. But if you need a visa to enter the Schengen space, not just the visa-free stay, then generally you cannot apply anywhere else. Chamuki Bazuki, have you all processed any blue card, employee card applications for Americans under the new rules yet? Not a blue card, because I don't think the new rules apply to a blue card, because it's a bit complicated, but technically it shouldn't be used for the blue card. But for employee card, yes, we've done many applications. I think we have some approved as well, some still in process, but yes, we've done a couple. Kamal Mohammed, hello Jan, I'm on a blue card and I found a job that meet the requirements for the blue card, higher than 65,200. How much lower than my previous job? But much lower than my previous job. Is that an issue? No, not really. As long as you meet the requirements for the blue card and you report the change of employer properly, you should be fine. You should just have some reason to make the change, because it logically does not really make sense to go from way better paid job to a lower paid. But if you say that the working environment wasn't really good or something like that, if you have a solid reason for that, I would not be too worried about that, especially if all the other requirements are met. So yeah, it should be okay. Nur Hayati Air, hello Jan from Malaysia. First, what is price range for private health insurance for age 40 and above? For apartment rental, utilities are paid monthly. Are these included in monthly rental or not? Okay, good question. So for age 45, honestly, I would need to calculate that. So roughly, let's say 19 to 28,000 crowns. But I would need to calculate that, because I don't know exactly where is the breaking point, if it's 45 with some insurance companies or with some might be 50. I think it's still within the like 32 something range, in which case that would be from 17 to 29,000 crowns, but I would need to calculate this because this is like exactly the bordering or borderline age. As for utilities, yes, they are generally paid monthly. You pay monthly deposits. Like there are two ways. Either you just agree on a fixed price to the landlord and you pay that to the landlord. And then they don't calculate anything, but that's not that common. The usual or the most common way is that you pay deposits directly to the providers or even to the landlord, but you pay deposits, and then at the end of the, let's say at the end of the year, it's usually like the calculation period, which might be different in different parts of Prague and different parts of the Czech Republic, but generally once a year they do the final calculations and they compare how much you paid in the deposits, how much you really consumed, and if there is some balance you have to pay. If you overpaid, they give you money back. So that's how it generally works, paid on monthly basis, the deposits. As for having it included in the monthly rent, I would say in most cases no, like 80% of cases it's separate. In some cases, let's say the 20%, the landlord will bill you one monthly fee, but maybe it's like 90% to 10%. So yeah, it's not very likely that everything would be included in rent. Ashim Uprete, thank you for your card information, sir. Just wish me best wishes for my visa appointment. If I get it once, I will take you in the Everest base camp. All right. Cool. Okay. Like if you get an appointment and you invite me to go to the Mount Everest, I'll do that. So remind me and we'll do it. Yeah. So good luck. Good luck with the appointment. I'm looking forward to it. Ervan, students visa quotas for embassy in Nigeria, Abuja is 10 and embassy cover 9 other countries. And embassy use automatic draw to selection applicants. It's crazy. Yeah, unfortunately, this is common at other embassies as well. At some embassies also, it used to be, maybe it still is, I don't know, but used to be at least like 2 years ago that you had to go there in person one day, like in 2 months. Then you deposited your name into a lottery, and then they chose people from the lottery. They literally had your names and then like did this and chose people. And if you were one of the chosen, you got an appointment. If you were not, then you didn't. So yeah, unfortunately, getting an appointment at some Czech embassies is difficult. Ashim, how many months does it take to get student resume visa, sir? Well, generally for students, the deadline for the ministry is 60 days. But through the student regime should be faster. So maybe like 45 days, but it's just what is officially written in the law, okay? It doesn't mean that the ministry will stick to it. Sometimes they can make the decision within a month, sometimes even shorter for some types of visas, and depends on the season. There are plenty of factors, but we had some applications approved within 10 days or 14 days. But some applications, even student visas, can take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, even a year in some cases. That wasn't our client, but I've heard of someone who've been waiting for that long. We've heard of people who went to the embassy like 12 times for different interviews and submission of documents, all that. So officially the ministry has 65 days. Through the student mode, student rate should be faster, so maybe like 45, but you never know. Yashwant Singh Shekhawat. I'm mispronouncing all your names, guys. Sorry for that. My apologies. Hi, why MOI approval is slow? I'm already in Prague. I already applied for employee card. What the chances for MOI approval if we already live in Schengen country? Well, this is kind of unclear for me what your situation is, because you can only apply in Prague if you've been living here already under some kind of visa or residence permit. You cannot apply at the Ministry of the Interior if you don't have a local visa or residence permit. If you live in some other EU country, say in Poland or Germany or Spain, you can only apply in Dresden, in Germany, if you've been living in that particular country for more than 2 years. So I'm not exactly sure where you apply and how, so that's difficult for me to comment about that. As for chances for approval, yeah, that would depend mainly on this. And one thing which is important for employee cards is your employer, because partially it's about you. If you're not a criminal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you applied in Dresden. Okay, so that, yeah. So employee card is more about your employer, depending on how stable or how serious is your employer. That might decide about the outcome of the application. If it's like a big company or like a standard company which pays everything for their employees, you should be fine. It's generally the safest type of residence permit to get approved. But if your employer was like a small kebab shop somewhere, which had like 2 employees and didn't pay their social security or healthcare or stuff like that, that could complicate your process as well. As for why it takes them so long, a couple of reasons. One, I would say inefficiency. Generally, that's like the Czech Republic's government like specialty, because, well, I'm not judging. I cannot imagine how difficult it is to like for the whole country, and it's just 10 million people. Okay, if you look at countries like Russia or the US, like big countries, India, China, it must be incredibly difficult to get something for the whole country. But even with 10 million people, I can imagine it's difficult to set up systems and like get new ones. And that's part of the reason that different ministries, different authorities in the Czech Republic don't really communicate with each other, because they use different IT systems which are usually not really well connected. So everything is still pretty difficult and not really smooth and pretty slow in general. So if the ministry, for example, needs information from some other authority, they could potentially get the information just like by clicking somewhere, but they cannot do it. So they have to like send an email and wait for a reply, and someone needs to find out, and it can take time. One thing. Another thing is seasons. So in some seasons where applications are not that common, the ministry makes the decision faster. If the season is high, which is now ending, the highest season is August, September, October. So now it's slightly better, but until now it was the highest season, so the decisions take longer. So many different factors. Nur Hayati, perfect. Thanks, Jan, for the answers. My pleasure. Can I apply bridging visa because my visa process is being processed? No, unfortunately, no, you cannot get a bridging visa if you apply through an embassy. If you apply in the Czech Republic, then you could get a bridging visa. Potentially, depends on like the application, all that, but generally you cannot get a bridging visa if you applied through an embassy, because bridging visa only bridges the period from when one of your visas expires until you get a new one. And at this point, you don't have any visa in the Czech Republic, so there is nothing to bridge, because you should not be in the Czech Republic technically. So there is no giving you a visa to be able to stay in the Czech Republic if you're not supposed to be in the Czech Republic yet. So unfortunately, no, you cannot get a bridging visa. So guys, I promised 20 minutes. It's 19, so like one last question. Okay, perfect. So A is the last question I'll answer, and then I'll go home. Not quite, but I'll need to go somewhere. Is it possible to work, that is, having free access to the Czech labor market in other EU countries with a Czech PR that has EU resident status? Thank you. Well, this is a difficult question to answer because technically, yes, if you have Czech permanent residency and you have the status of a long-term resident of the EU, that gives you some working rights in other EU countries. So technically, you could work somewhere else. But usually there are local rules that go into play that, for example, say that you can only stay there for 3 months with a Czech PR if you don't get any local visa or residence permit. So in real life, I don't think it will work like that. If you want to like settle there and work long time, long term, that it's not like just you go there for 3 weeks and you work there. That should be possible. But if you want to like live there and work there, then most countries will anyway ask you to get a local residence permit in the country where you are trying to like work. So you could potentially technically do it, but in real life, I don't think it's gonna happen that easily. Okay, guys, it's 20 minutes. I really need to run now. So thank you very much all. Sorry, Kamel Mohammad, and sorry, Monirul Islam. I cannot answer the questions now because I have to be somewhere at 6 in 15 minutes. But thank you very much for joining. I'm waving to Dhaka, Bangladesh. Thank you very much, and I will see you again Thursday, Monday, until the end of the world. Good night, guys. Bye-bye.